For a deeper look into mental illness and the influence of gun culture, I'm joined by Michael Maloof, a former senior Pentagon strategic analyst and current firearms instructor. Michael, welcome, and thank you for joining us. Let me start with this. These
Thank you.
red flag laws in the U.S., we are not experts at this, by the way, so explain to us how these laws work.
Well, the law basically works by, and it's a relatively recent thing, by relatives or close acquaintances who see actions by individuals who possess guns or have access to them, acting in a way that they think that they might be detrimental. This then goes to, they can report it to the police, but in turn, the police need to take it to court. It takes a judge who will ultimately decide whether or not a firearm is to be withheld from that individual. But there's got to be a lot of information, and as I say, it goes to court. There's a lot of evidence that has to be presented, and it has to be beyond any doubt that this person is not only harmful to themselves but potentially to the community.
Excellent. Yes, that's an excellent explanation. Let me start with this now. The mental health controversy is, I've heard it from both sides, right? My take on it is that if somebody isn't found to be 100% sane, I truly don't want that person obviously to have a gun. But the issue isn't just that particular rule, is a lot of people don't want to look into that. They don't want an actual mental illness report, or quite frankly, domestic violence or a violent background should also be likely, disqualifying you from having a gun. The problem is every single state has slightly different rules. How are we supposed to understand this?
Well, it's emerging. It's still evolving. In fact, there's no real clear definition of what mental illness is. Be clinically mentally ill. Again, you have courts that have to decide, that juries have to decide whether that individual is competent or not. And what's intriguing is that you may have a lot of mentally ill people who are not necessarily going to be undertaking mass shootings. But on the other hand, about 30 to 40% of those who do undertake mass shootings are considered to have some mental issues. Are they defined as a clinically defined mental disorder? That's something that I'm not in a position to talk about. But at the same time, you have other reasons why people may go on mass shootings. For example, alcohol, domestic fights in the house. You have, and ironically, there hasn't been that many mass shootings except until very recent years, and it's been predominantly among males, about 18 to 20 years old.
Right, but the issue is we all want these mass shootings to stop, right? There's nobody I know of that every person I've spoken to wants this to stop. And I had an interesting interaction with a homeless advocate in Seattle, talking about the homeless problem that we face there. And of course, we have violence, we have guns, we have drug use, and the number one contributing issue was mental health. And while I agree it is hard to gauge, there are experts out there that will say this person mentally is not stable, and I believe that we should not have these people be free to have guns. I mean, it just seems like a very natural thing that we could at least agree on, right?
Yeah, it can be if it is determined by a court under the red flag laws that they in fact are a danger to themselves and to the community by possessing these firearms. And it's a very they're walking delicately in this area right now, because there are continuing studies on the whole area of mental illness and its impact upon the communities, and you have a lot of veterans, for example, that come back. They have PTSD,
right,
or post-stress traumatic depression, and oftentimes that only results in suicide. So they're also harmful to themselves in that regard.
Michael,
And so
Michael, I think we agree that these people need to seek some form of
yes.
help.
Oh yeah.
And
that's the problem, detecting it, and then reporting it. A lot of
right.
these young people in schools, they would advertise it on social media.
Right.
That should be a flag to get them help.
All right, let's leave it there, Michael Maloof. Thank you very much. Appreciate the analysis on this.